Hello, thank you for taking the time to watch this video on the Art and Design GCSE with the Textile Design endorsement. So before we get started, it's important to understand the difference between the Textile Design GCSE and the Fine Art GCSE. Ultimately, if you pick either one of these subjects, you will end up with a GCSE in Art and Design, but that you can follow two different pathways. The first pathway we offer is a fine art pathway, where students who take this pathway will be working with materials and processes such as painting, sculpture, drawing, watercolour, installation, and printmaking, to name but a few. The other option is to follow the textile design pathway, where students would follow the pathway covering subjects or areas of study such as surface pattern, costume, printmaking, the dyeing of fabrics, or the construction or constructed textiles. It's important to remember that either pathway which you take, you will end up with a GCSE in art and design and the different endorsements of fine art and textiles, and you can't take both. So you have to pick either fine art or textile design. The two courses run side by side. They'll be very, very similar in their approach. However, the students will be handling and working with different materials and working with different processes as they make their way through the course. So let's have a quick look at the overview of the course, how students are assessed and what types of things that they're assessed on. First and foremost, students are required to develop knowledge, understanding, and skills relevant to their chosen title, whether that be fine art or, in this case, textile design. And this is integrated with practical, critical contextual understanding that encourages the students to engage with original artworks that they can then build into their own practice. Students must learn through practical experience and practical exploration, demonstrating their knowledge and understanding of primary sources that inform their own practice and inform their own artworks and their own textile designs as well. Students can work in any medium or combination of materials. Now, obviously, if you're picking the textile design pathway, you are going to be working with fabric and all of the associated processes that come with that as well. And finally, the students must develop and apply relevant subject-specific skills in order to use their visual language to communicate personal ideas, meanings, and responses. Some of the best GCSE pieces are from students that have really ran with their own ideas based on potentially personal experiences or things that they are interested in. So there are a number of opportunities, both in fine art and textile design, to engage with cross-curricular learning. And you'll see a few just coming up on your screen now. But as students deconstruct the work of textile practitioners and other artists as well, what they'll do is engage with much of the contextual understanding in which a piece of artwork or a costume, for example, would have been constructed. And therefore, they're also then able to articulate their understanding through visual language, but also in written annotations and verbal group critiques. So if we look at the course structure and how it's set out, it is exactly the same as that in GCSE Fine Art. Again, the only difference is that students will be working with different textiles and different materials. So in both subjects, students have two components to complete that consists of a coursework and practical examinations. Component one is known as the coursework portfolio, and we divide that into two sketchbooks, into two separate projects. And component two is known as the examination project, Its official name is the externally set assignment, and that again is a practical project with a controlled 10-hour practical exam at the end of that unit, of that component. Each component is marked at 96 marks and split into four categories of assessment. They're known as the assessment objectives, and they mark students, in very brief terms, they mark students on their development of their ideas, on the refinement and experimentation of their work, on their ability to record observations and ideas, and to create a personal and meaningful response. So component one is worth 60% of students' overall mark. And again, as you said, it's split into two different projects. The first project, we begin in year 10, and it takes a vast majority of year 10 to complete that. It is an extended project, and students will experience a series of different disciplines, techniques and processes as they work their way through that guided project of year 10. Project 2 starts at the end of year 10 and goes into the beginning of year 11. For Project 2, students should be able to implement some of the understanding and knowledge that they've acquired through that more guided approach of Project 1, and begin to work slightly more independently in developing their own ideas from a given starting point. And at the end of that project, around Christmas of year 11, we put in place a mock practical exam for them to create their outcome, to give them a real understanding as to how the final exam will run in the April time of year 11. So component 2 is worth 40% of students' overall mark, and it's known as the exam project, the externally set task. That is set by the exam board. The exam board will send a series of themes, and students can respond to one of those themes practically through a practical project. And they have usually around 4 months to do that. And again, that culminates in a 10-hour exam, practical exam in April time of year 11. So, what do students usually go on and do with a GCSE in art, and with a particular focus on textile design? Now, students, as we said before, will leave with a GCSE in art and design, whether they follow, depending on which pathway that they follow. And with that, many students go on to study A level, and again, they can study A levels in the vast majority of disciplines. Even though they may have followed the textiles pathway, they might get to the end and decide that actually they've had a great time, but they don't wish to pursue textiles, but have thoroughly enjoyed the creative journey that they've been on. And therefore, A levels in a whole host of different disciplines are usually open to them still. They can also follow the extended diploma route, which is the equivalent of 3 A levels. And again, they come in a whole host of different disciplines which students are able to access. And many students, either after GCSE or most normally after A level or even degree, will go on to get higher level apprenticeships working with designers, galleries, and things like that as well. There are a whole host of jobs that an art career can lead to. Some of them are coming up on your screen now, and this isn't an exhaustive list at all, but many of our students who leave us with an art GCSE, whether that be in fine art or textiles, go on to pursue a career in a creative industry. Thank you very much for your time. I hope that's been informative, and please obviously get in touch with us if you have any further questions. Thank you.